Today, I'm talking to Amy Amata. She's a business coach, she's a speaker, she's a teacher, and I've just been getting to know Amy over the last, I don't know, month or two. We've been doing these kind of pop-up AI masterminds together with us and kind of others who are really interested in learning how to use these tools and make them into these allies to be better coaches, be better teachers, and to improve ourselves. And Amy's just really passionate about using this technology to be a great coach. And so welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much, Evan, for having me. I'm excited about this topic today.
So tell me, how'd you get interested in this stuff? Like, what happened?
What happened? That's a great question. It's funny because I think about how, I've had my business coaching business for the last 11 years. And what I've loved the most about coaching my clients and speaking on stages has been all around messaging. And I speak into deep connection a lot, like really connecting with your audience, really connecting with your ideal clients, also connecting with yourself, connecting with your vision. And so I've always kind of geeked out on just the human beingness of it all, the relationship part of it all. And so when I started hearing more and more about AI, at first, honestly, I was very resistant to it. And it was my partner, Ken, who once ChatGPT came out, he was like, Amy, you got to check this out, especially the fact that you're in the messaging world. And I really think this could be something that you leverage in your business. And I was like, yeah, I'll get to that later. And then he sat down with me with a laptop and he said, watch this. And he put in one simple prompt into ChatGPT specifically. And the response blew my mind. I was like, what is this thing? And so give me that. And I started to play with it. And it was just mind blowing what I saw it could do. And then I just totally got into it. So that started.
And, this is interesting because you and I were talking, just kind of as we were preparing here about this, there's a paradox here, right? So how do you use something that can write like a human to create something that is authentically you? And I mean, I guess I'd be interested to ask you, can you use something that can write like you or like other people to create something that makes you even more authentic? Is that possible? It's weird to have this conversation, but what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't think that this was possible before. When I first just started playing with it and seeing what others were sharing online in terms of these long lists of prompts, use this prompt, and I thought, okay, that's cool. And I know that while it can write like a human, I don't want it to just write like a human. I want it to write like me when I'm using it for copywriting, for example. And so what I discovered was, well, first of all, it's a way to also improve our own communication. So as I've been playing with it, experimenting with it, even creating my own framework around it, I have realized that sometimes I would communicate with the tool and the response it would give me was not exactly what I was looking for. And I look back at my prompt and I would think to myself, oh, I can see why you did that, ChatGPT. And so I think it's a way for all of us to improve our communication, not only with the tool, but with other humans as well. And then the piece that I got really excited about was something that I've been teaching for years in terms of really pulling out your truth, speaking from your heart versus getting in your head, especially with my clients who they're confident in what it is that they do in terms of coaching and consulting and mentorship, but where they're not as confident is in marketing and sales and growing and scaling the business. And so that's the piece where I'd say, well, it still is you when you're in a business where you're building a relationship with an audience. And so I would often have them, even before AI, really drop into their heart, their soul, their spirit, say, okay, what is it that you really want to say? And instead of thinking of it as marketing speak, like just be you on this topic that you're passionate about. And so we brought it into AI by doing voice dictation and bringing it into ChatGPT. So it originates from us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I saw a really good one, I don't know, a month or maybe a couple months ago, where someone was really upset with their landlord or their property manager or something because they weren't fixing their, heater. And they wrote this letter that was, all angry and cursing and, upset or something. And then they said, they put it into ChatGPT and they said, help me make this, nicer. And it rewrote it and with everything, like whatever, dear property manager, I'm writing to express my frustration, and like it made it way, way better. And what I started to realize when I saw that one, and then others that have kind of happened since, is that you can actually ask it to take one of your communications and give you another version of it for a particular type of person or a particular type of situation. Or you can say, hey, make this less angry, or give me some suggestions on how to, get my point across better. And then as you're watching it, you can see that it can, once in a while, or I mean, often, but once in a while, it gives you an idea where you go, yes, that's what I wanted to say. That's the point I'm trying to make, is you got to go, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, yeah, even for those difficult communication pieces, like writing a letter or an email that's maybe it's for, maybe you're disgruntled, or maybe you have a client that's disgruntled, or there's a situation where you've got to communicate something that's not easy. And this way it's like, okay, you can actually just be yourself and write a rough draft and then put it into ChatGPT and say, now write this in this way, right? And give it the specific directive of how to use it, and so, or how to rewrite it. It's just amazing. I think it's really great for improving communication.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you do it? How do you teach, your audience and your clients to increase their authenticity while using this, this paradoxical piece of technology?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I think about that, it's a combination of like increasing their authenticity, but also amplifying their message. Because I know there's been a lot of fear around AI is here to replace you and to replace your voice. But the way I look at it is it's a tool that if we leverage it, in my opinion, right, then it can amplify our authenticity, amplify our message. And so the way that I've done this is in my program, I applied what I've been doing before to this, like I was saying, with really speaking from the heart. So I have a framework called the heart speech model. And the way I look at it, it's a communication model where there's a sender and a receiver. So you're the sender, and the receiver, in this case, for marketing, is your ideal client, your audience. And a lot of my clients do, of course, send out emails consistently to the list, and they post on social, and they host workshops. And so the way that I've done it is the main piece of it is, once again, to bring your authentic voice into it. So we've developed a prompt generating tool, prompt generator. And the piece that I get most excited about is the heart speech. And what I mean by that is to actually transcribe what you really want to say. And so, of course, the people who are more advanced, they've got the Chrome extensions and different ways they can just speak right into it. But if you just want to do the simple basic thing, you just grab your phone and then go into your notes section, or use an app like Otter, something where you can transcribe your voice. And so this is what I do, and I have my clients do. I'm like, okay, just drop into your heart, get out of your head, get into your heart. Think about a topic that you're really passionate about, or that you have a point of view on, that you want to convey to your audience. And then sometimes I'll just have them close their eyes, drop in. I'll say, okay, what do you really want to say? And then start off by saying, what I really want to say is, and not worry about any kind of a call to action or anything that has to do with the rest of their message, and just speak into this topic. And so they can do that without editing themselves. It doesn't need to be polished. And they just ramble for a bit. Like, think of it as getting on your soapbox about something. And then once you've done that, now you've got this transcription that you can pull from your phone or wherever you've done it, and put it into ChatGPT, or in our case, we use our prompt generator. So it has the other elements of the message and the prompt to create this ultimate prompt stack to put into ChatGPT, because now it actually has your voice in the prompt. And what you have it create, say you want to create a social media post, and it has all this information, including your heart speech, and then you give it this prompt, and then it creates a post, if not 30 posts, that have that essence of who you are.
Hey, quick question for you. What are you learning from this interview? And what do you want to learn next? Well, you probably want to stay ahead of the curve with AI just like we want to. And we want to be your top resource for interesting, cutting-edge AI tools and knowledge here on MetaMind. We're finding and interviewing interesting experts from different worlds, different industries, and then we're using this knowledge so we can keep up with AI and improve our success, improve our quality of life. So stay with us on this journey. So first, click on the subscribe button, which you'll find under the video, so that YouTube puts this into your feed when we release new interviews with AI experts. And if you're enjoying this interview, please give me a like to let others know that this is the real deal. And also, if you know someone who's interested in what we're talking about here, then send this interview to them so that they can learn with you. And I also want to hear from you. So go down to the comments below and let me know, what's your favorite prompt or prompting technique? What are your favorite AI resources or tools? What are you learning from this conversation? Do you disagree with anything we're saying here? And also, what else would you like to learn? Who would you like me to interview here on MetaMind? All right, well, go and subscribe, leave me a comment below, and back to our interview.
Okay, so prompting. So I
Yeah.
find this topic is totally fascinating to me because it occurs to me that, the AI, these large language models, they can help us be better communicators. So when I teach people how to write copy or how to do marketing, I usually start off and I say, okay, we're going to study thinking today. We're going to study how to think better and how to communicate better. And we're going to do that by studying marketing, right? We're going to practice marketing in order to learn to think better. Because if you can think more clearly, because to me, prompting in a way is communication. They all kind of link up. And so how do you what is prompting to you? What is this? What is this thing?
That's a great question. When I think of prompting, I do think of it as a communication, a form of communication. And in this context of using AI, and I've really focused mostly on ChatGPT, is a way to prompt this language model and communicate it in a way to ask it to do something for you, or tell it to do something for you. And what you get out of it is just like in life, is what you put into it, right? So it's your output is only as good as your input. So if ever somebody's like, well, I just feel like this thing doesn't sound like me, like, well, what did you put into it? What did you prompt it? What did you ask it or tell it to do for you? And did you give it enough information? And if you didn't, then I would take a look at what is in your prompts, what is in that communication that you've given it. And so I love what you're saying, Evan, about like shifting the way that you think. It is a way to shift the way that you think, shift the way that you communicate. And if we really focus on improving, just like in life, right? I feel like it's such a reflection in life. If we want to improve our relationships, if we want to improve our lives, let's improve how we communicate with ourselves and with others. And it's no different than with this tool. It's like, okay, how are you prompting it? How are you telling it or asking it to do something for you? And are you being really clear? Not just keep trying, keep seeing how you can improve that communication.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that you're saying to literally begin with, like, have your starting point, your foundation place. What is that thing that you most want to say from your heart?
Yeah.
And it's a great reminder that we get out what we put in, like in computers, right? Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it's been interesting too, because I've found that people tend to have, like, the people that I have been connecting with, there's been definitely a range of people, the people who've been deep in it and they're just really seeing how they can geek out of this tool and what they can do with it. And just it's limitless what it can do for you. And then there's others who have barely touched it. Like, I don't know about this thing. It kind of freaks me out. I think it's like, they use things like, it freaks me out, it's creepy. And I always like to ask them, like, well, what's creepy about it? And I think it's just the newness of it all. They're like, I don't know what this even means. And then I think they start thinking about all the different areas, not just in business, but in life and education, different places it can be used. And there's fear that comes up around it replacing or it taking, or, it just goes on and on. And so what I like to do is just ask them, well, what are you really afraid of?
Yeah.
Calculators were probably like creepy at some, like, what is this tool that can do this math for me, right? Like, I mean, the internet, when the first internet first came out, I mean, I'm sure there was resistance there too, or even cell phones, like, I don't want to have a phone on me all the time, right? And so,
yeah,
well, I think they're the early adopters and the late adopters. So I just say, why not just use it as a tool and see how it can support you and what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm 80% optimistic, 20% pessimistic. I don't even know how to say pessimistic. I'm 80% optimistic, 20% pessimistic. And, the best case scenarios are really good, and the worst case scenarios are, if you listen to Sam Altman, he says, straight up, very, very bad, lights out kind of situation. And so to me, like, the game, where I'm at today anyway, as we have this conversation, is it's very important to learn what this is and to be using what's going on right now, so that you can understand what it is, just to wrap your head around what it is. And I think very importantly, to wrap your head around how fast it's evolving.
That's what I
that's
came
the
up with. Yeah.
Exactly. And to learn to interact with, with, for the first time, something that is beyond any human intelligence that that any of us is going to encounter. I wouldn't, I don't know, like beyond human intelligence in some ways, but in terms of what it knows, it's just totally fascinating. It's totally interesting to interact with something and just like think, okay, let me pretend that this knows everything. And now let me talk to it. And then let me get it to help me. It's, it's incredible. When you think of it as a coach, I think, as a mentor, as a teacher, and you use it to educate you, then you really want to learn, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And something that I've been thinking about is that, I mean, you're talking about changing the way we think. I love that you brought that up earlier. Is what I found, even in my own case, is that initially I'm using it to do things that either I or somebody on my team has already been doing. So I'm using it to my limitation versus its capability. Right? Like, okay, write this one email for me. Well, in the past, I could have written the email, or I could have hired a copywriter to write this email, or even a few emails. But what if it could write 50 emails for me, or 30, a 30 email nurture sequence in such a short amount of time? And even that's a limiting belief, right? So part of what I'm loving in the conversations we've been having too is just continuing to expand the mind of what all it can do beyond our limitations. Yeah. So it just continues to be so mind-blowing. It's funny, anytime I'm either messaging with somebody about it, I've never seen that little mind-blowing emoji.
Exactly. It's everywhere now. Right. Exactly. That's the new meme.
Right.
One of my friends, who will go unnamed because I think you've interacted with him too, but he's a coach, and he was showing how he made it so that it creates a little sequence of follow-ups for him when he does a coaching session to remind him, to text his client or to send emails to his client, and, it automatically lines them up, and then he, sends them out, kind of thing. And I was like, well, what if their AI gets the messages from you and it responds? Then what, But
we got all these little robots talking to each other.
Because that's coming really soon here. And that's going to be fascinating,
It really is. Yeah.
So is it, I mean, let's go down the authenticity rabbit hole a little bit more, right? In the kind of like self-expression world. So is it important to be authentic?
I believe that it is. And I know that in one of our meetups, someone in our group said something interesting, which was, instead of content is king, he said context is king. I was like, oh, that's really good. So I would say it's important depending on the context. Now, if I was selling these mugs, then you don't need to have my voice necessarily about these mugs, right? Like it's more about what are the benefits of the Yeti mug? Like, I love these mugs, by the way. But it's keep my coffee warm. I'm not a sponsor, ambassador, anything like that. But my point is, like, if I was selling a product, a widget, something that nobody really cared about me or my voice or my truth or my heart speech, then okay, it's probably not that important, honestly. But if I'm in a business where I'm building a relationship with my audience, a relationship with my ideal clients, relationship with my team, relationship, like it's relationship based, then to me, authenticity is essential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is
a real, like a true relationship is like, I want to be real, and I want you to be real, and I want us to actually know each other for who we are.
What is authenticity?
Oh, that's a great question.
What does it mean?
I mean, to me, it means speaking your truth, being true to who you are, and peeling back the masks if you feel like you wear any masks. I believe we all wear masks. And just in my own journey, I can see where throughout my life, I at a young age, I think I put on a bunch of masks so that I have to be this certain way in order to be loved and accepted. And then as I got older, I realized that was not serving me, because on the inside, I was different. On the inside, I was like, well, what I really want to say is this, but I'm afraid if I say this, these people are going to think this thing, or a parent will think this about me. And so I just started to peel back my layers over time. And I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to be me. And I think there was just a part of me that just wanted to come out to be who I really am. And then now that I've had the honor of working with so many individuals, I mean, yes, I focus on business coaching, but I love to get to know the person. I'm like, what are you about? Like, what's your story? What what is the thing that lights you up? And I find it fascinating that we all have different things that light us up. And what are you passionate about? And why are you passionate about that? And so to me, it's about authenticity is bringing out the truth of who you are, and also where that comes from, your story, and what is it that you truly want to speak into, and what are your beliefs and your values. So it's all that wrapped up.
To just kind of, jam on that a little bit. It's like, right, I guess the opposite of authenticity would be being counterfeit or artificial or something. And because so many people now are having to find their own voice, their own message, we're coming from a world where that wasn't as valuable, and then now all of a sudden it is. And I mean, let's say a lot of people aren't used to being themselves. They're used to being their role or their profession or whatever that code of conduct was. And then all of a sudden now they're realizing, oh, wait a minute, being me and that thing is, that's going to be how I'm going to create value in the future. But then there's the paradox of, how do you be authentic if you're not used to being authentic? Can you practice authenticity? Can you like take a test drive of it or something? I used to, in a past life, I was a dating guru, and a lot of men, young social awkward men would come and basically say like, what do I say to a girl, to talk to her, and then I would say, well, say this. And they would say, but that's not what I would say, and I'm like, well, that's unfortunately what you would say isn't going to work, because you don't know how this whole thing works. And that's okay that you don't know, but try this one a few times and just get a feel for how the interaction works. And then you can come up with something that's really like truly, so there's a real paradox here. There's something that we all have to work on. And I guess what I would suggest is, by interacting with these tools, and by using the AI and, ChatGPT, it can actually give you insights into yourself. And you can say, oh yeah, that sounds more like what I would say than what I'm coming up with. Because we're not used to being ourselves in public in a lot of ways.
So interesting. Yeah. I hadn't really thought about it that way, but you're absolutely right. I mean, to me, it also ties into identity. Like how do you identify yourself? And there's how you identify yourself. There's how you want to identify yourself, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's a whole other topic that I just get so passionate about. Like, what, who are you and who am I? And it's a continuous discovery process to figure these things out. Yeah. So
if someone's just, let's say someone's getting started with, using the AI tools, how do you recommend, like, let's say that someone's listening to this right now and they're like, I have never used these things, but you guys have got me convinced. I need to go check this out. What would be the first thing that you would type into, let's say, ChatGPT or, Bard or one of these things to just start getting a sense of it?
Yeah, what I would do is I would just make it fun, right? Like be playful with it instead of thinking I've got to use this tool for a specific thing for business or some. I would have fun with it. Like think about what's something that you're curious about and something that you wish someone would just do for you. So for example, if you've ever say that you've always wanted to work out with a personal trainer, like, oh, if I just had a personal trainer, I'd be totally in shape, right? You'd say, okay, go into ChatGPT and say, you are a personal trainer and I am this age and here's my, my weight goal, my health goals. Give me 5 days worth of what a 30-minute workout at home without any tools could look like, right? Something that you're curious about, and it'll say, oh, great, sure, here it is. Monday, do this, right? And it'll give you a 30-minute workout and tell you to do these jumping lunges and push-ups, or whatever it is, right? So you just use it for something, or maybe it's, maybe you want to get ideas. Like I remember taking a client through this when I was introducing ChatGPT to my clients. And I said to her, I was like, what's something fun that you have coming up or you want to plan? And she said, oh, my mom is turning 90. And I want to come up with a really cool birthday celebration. She's not your average 90-year-old. I said, great. So we went to ChatGPT and said, hey, come up with 5 different themes for my mother's 90th birthday. She loves to travel and sing and tell jokes and whatever. And it came up with 5 different themes. I said, okay, so now we picked one theme. And so we just went down the rabbit hole. Okay, give me an itinerary, a possible itinerary for this party. And right, what recipe should I use for making these types of foods? So I would say just be playful with it so that you're not putting these rules on, I have to use it for this very thing. It's like, well, play with it to get to know it, to see what can it do. And then you can start opening up your mind and seeing what it can do for you in business and career and personal life, all of it. So I'd say just
Excellent.
play.
Yeah, for sure. The other day I was thinking about it and I was like, and when I asked, I said, okay, I like the movies, The Matrix, Arrival, Transcendence, kind of these kind of niche kinds of things. And I was like, what are some other movies that I may not have heard of that I would also possibly like? And it gave me a list of recommendations. And there were a couple on there that I, just weren't on my radar screen. And so anyway, that one might be a fun one too, because I think part of if you're going to open up this Pandora's box, if you're going to jump into this rabbit hole, you really have to get a sense of how powerful this is. And there's you kind of have to ask it something that you wouldn't expect to be able to ask a search engine or, a computer. You have to ask it something that you would only expect to ask someone that's really knowledgeable and that has lots of pieces of data in their mind. Like, hey, I liked these 3 niche movies. What's another one I might like? Then it kind of gives you back something and you go, okay, wait a minute. There's more going on here than I thought, right?
Exactly. And you could also think of it as, if this was a person that I could delegate something to, what would I want to delegate?
Great one.
Yeah. I mean, I was, there was one morning when I was having some coffee and I was saying, gosh, I have so many things in my head right now, and just, I was in a state of overwhelm, even though I try not to be. I have so many things in my head. I want to get back to these people and do these things. I'm afraid I'm going to let something slip through the cracks. And so I decided to once again use voice transcription on my phone. And I just did a brain dump of I got to get back to this person, call this person, do this thing, pay this bill, whatever it was, whether it was personal or business. So it's all this mess of a transcription. I put it into ChatGPT and I said, now organize this for me into logical categories. And it's like, okay, boom. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I started to feel the stress relief happening already. And then I prompted it again to help me identify the things that were really quick. So I had like the things that were just quick tasks. And then I had it help me to prioritize them. And so it just felt like, wow, this would have taken me a long time on my own to organize all my thoughts and what I feel like is this overwhelming mess in my head. And now it's all organized for me in seconds. So it was just mind blowing.
Yeah, it's a nice thinking partner. It's good at like giving reflections. If you're stuck on something and you just say, hey, what do you think? It can sometimes, because I mean, right, when we humans, we get stopped somewhere, we're just not aware that there's another option and it can generate options. And I guess what I'm trying to say, staying on the conversation of authenticity,
Yeah.
if you ask it for, 5 themes for a birthday party or dishes for a dinner gathering or, potential movie ideas or whatever it is, if you ask it for 10 of them, if 1 or 2 of them sound good, you're the one picking the 1 or 2. It's just providing more options in a way. And it can help you find what you think or believe or feel.
Exactly.
Okay, quick action step here. So the key is learning how to prompt better. You start out prompting by just asking questions and talking to AI like it's a helper, but you quickly realize that getting better at prompting is a huge accelerator and game changer for your own success in life. So these prompts will not only help you get a lot more done faster and accelerate your success, but they'll also help you really get prompting and get better at it. You can get all of these as a gift from me just by going to metamind.co/gift. That's metamind.co/gift, and I'll put that link below, and then just opt in to get it. I've also created a powerful video for you called AI in the Future of Business and Work and Success that demonstrates some of the key mindsets and prompting strategies to help you get up to speed and get a lot more out of generative AI. And it's also included as a free gift when you register. So just head over to metamind.co/gift to get your AI Accelerator Prompt Pack and the other free goodies. All right, back to our interview.
again, it's endless. And that's why I think it's fun to initially just play with it and get to know what it's capable of. And then think about, okay, now what is it that I am wanting next in my life, my business, my relationship? Like, what are your goals and aspirations? And then think about, how can I use this to help me go for it, go for my vision.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's really cool.
exactly. How do you use it to be a better coach?
Oh gosh, I mean, I use it to be a better coach in that I know that on my own, I mean, I can only do so much. I only know so much. And so when I use ChatGPT, I think about, what can I do to improve the resources that I provide for my clients, for example. There's a lot of ways. That's why my mind's going like, wow, there's so many ways. So for example, one of the things I love to provide when I host workshops is worksheets, or when I've hosted in-person events, having a workbook. And some of these things used to take forever to come up with, okay, what is the worksheet that I want to create? What is the, what are the elements of the workbook I want to create? And of course, I want to be thoughtful in the process of that. And it can be very time consuming. And I'm also using just what I know. And it's not that I don't know a lot. I've been doing this for a long time. And I want to make sure that I'm really serving my clients, my audience to the best of my ability. So earlier this year, I was in I co-hosted a masterclass on high ticket VIP days. And because I love hosting high ticket VIP days, destination VIP days, and high-end retreats. And as a part of it, I wanted to create a workbook to go along with this experience. And so in my head, I had the old way of thinking like, I've got to create this workbook. Like, yes, I want to create it, but I have so much else on my plate. And I thought, hold on, I could probably use ChatGPT and create a better workbook than I would on my own. And so just creating those resources, those assets that then you can repurpose. So I just went in and I said, okay, I've got this workshop coming up. Here's some, and I did bullet point out some of my own beliefs around VIP days, and then help me come up with an outline for a workbook. And sure enough, it did. And then I could look at that initial draft. It's easier to start with something than nothing and see what I liked or didn't like. And then I had it create the workbook for me. It's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How do you, or how should someone use this to help them create content and marketing?
How much time do we have? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I would think about, okay, this is how I would think about it. In order to stay out of the abyss of opportunity here, is I actually just talked to my clients about this, is to think about, what is one main project that I would love to see to fruition within the next 90 days? Like, what's one main thing? And then start making a list, or you can go to ChatGPT and ask it to make a list of, based on this project, what's a list of assets that I need for this marketing project, for example. So for me, for example, I have a vision of really tightening up my funnel and also like really taking it to the next level, and my customer journey. So just from start all the way to what I consider as like my client success story. And so I've been thinking about all the different elements that I can use ChatGPT and AI for to help me do that. And so I'd say to really think about, what is it that you want to create in the next 90 days? And then think about, okay, if I could have support on all these elements, emails, social media posts, landing page copy, images, I mean, like, just think about all the different elements, or even ask it for this checklist. And then I would say use it so that you're actually using it towards something that you're implementing.
Yeah, I'm totally fascinated as a marketer and someone that's been teaching marketing for 20 or 25 years. I'm really interested in how good it is at marketing. Because if you ask it to create a marketing piece, a piece of content, write headlines, help you with whatever, it, on average, my experience is it creates something that's about as good, let's say at least as good as a good marketing copywriter, right out of the gate. And that's really interesting to me because, if you give me 100 people who have no experience with marketing or copy or content, and you ask them to make an ad or a piece of content, out of those 100, maybe 5 of them or something, or 10 of them will make something that would be as good as a good copywriter.
Right.
And that is, I don't even know what that means. I mean, I don't even know what that means. I mean, I've already seen on Instagram and, wherever, just like YouTube, I've now seen people making ads, and I can tell from the way they're talking that AI wrote this, or at least wrote it with them.
Right.
And so I guess what I'm trying to say is it's really important to use this, especially if you're interested in creating marketing or content, because it will get you up to pretty good instantly. And then you can learn, you can get the voice and so forth, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And especially for those who really struggle with this piece around marketing, if they normally, I mean, I've had clients who said normally if they were writing their own copy, they would sit down for hours to write one email to their email list or one social media post. Oh, I sit down for 3 hours. I'm like, 3 hours? Like, don't, I mean, even
Yeah.
before the ChatGPT, like that just it doesn't make sense to me. But I also know that's something that I've been doing for a long time and I'm passionate about writing. And so, so now they can really leverage this tool. And like you said, I love what you were saying about how it can be at least good, and then they can always improve it from there and get their message out to the world.
Yeah. Another thing about it that's so interesting, to me, this might be like my little personal most interesting piece is you can work with it and have it make something, and then you can ask it to modify whatever that thing is based on some criteria. You can say, rewrite this, but write it to a person who might be more emotionally sensitive, or rewrite, shorten this, or expand it, or take this piece and expand it, or remove that thing. And you can kind of keep having it go through these transformations. And that's, again, it's really interesting.
I love that. I was recently talking to a colleague of mine and a mastermind, and he recently said that he decided to go, he has a pretty large mastermind community, and he decided to have them all take a very specific type of personality test. And so that he now has that information from all of his clients. So now he's got his list not only segment with like clients or non-clients or how they're tagged in his system.
Yep.
And instead now he can have emails that are written the same message, but in these 4 different personality types in terms of how it's received. Like, this is next levels of like, oh my gosh, I love this. And so now he can have AI write it in these different ways. And so the recipient is receiving it in their language, their love language, right? Their communication style. And that's another mind-blowing option.
Yeah, exactly. We were doing some follow-up emails, and we realized like, oh, we're sending these out to different types of clients. And we just said, we asked it, how would you rewrite this for this type of person, or for a more extroverted person, or whatever? And it gives you ideas, which of course, then you go through and you vet and you rewrite and you so forth. But it's a great insight machine. Maybe that's a way of saying it. Yeah.
Yeah. You got me thinking, even like when we write even to past clients, I've had past clients who've come back for different opportunities to work myself, my team. And so in the past, when I was writing my own copy, I would think, okay, how should I write it to this group? It's the same thing with using AI. It's like, okay, if I'm writing to a past client who I've known for years versus somebody totally new to me, it probably should be a different message versus the same blanket message to everybody. So this is the stuff that I really love to think about and be thoughtful with the process of marketing to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Any last thoughts for someone who's thinking of, using this, or maybe they already use it and they want to go to the next level, or, what are you thinking about next?
Well, I would say just like one of the best pieces of advice I remember hearing from Jesse Itzler at an event was just start, right? Just start and open up an account if you don't already have one. Start with ChatGPT and play with it, and just think of it as like, to me, this is such a revolutionary tool. It's as revolutionary as the cell phone and the internet and email. And so I'd say just start. It's not some trend that's going to go away. And I would say that think about what is it that you are creating next in your life and in your business, and ask yourself, could I use some additional support in this? And then think about it, and then think about how can I leverage this to help me with my vision.
Mm-hmm.
Just start.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Amy. And thank you for the conversation today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So thank you for watching another MetaMind AI interview. Remember to keep practicing prompting, keep learning, get our prompt pack and quick start video, watch our other videos to learn from other AI experts, and stay tuned to us here on MetaMind. Stay subscribed, because this is going to get really interesting.